It's 5:30, so we're going to start with the Board of Health meeting. Call that meeting to order. Remind you to turn your cell phones to silent or vibrate. And tonight we'll ask everybody to speak directly in the microphones. We're going to try to keep the air conditioning on to keep you cool in here. Let's all stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chris, would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Stevens. Councilmember Berg.
Here.
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Approve the minutes for meeting number 3 on May 4th, 2021 as presented. Recommendation, approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set to consider condemnation of the structures on the property located at 308 West 6th Street in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa.
This is a public hearing, so we'll start with Zach Simonson, Director. Give your comments, and then we'll see if there's anybody in the public.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. 308 West 6th is a property that was placarded on November 16th, 2020 due to a significant house fire. So far, no one has submitted a repair plan, sought permission to be in the building, or made any progress toward curing any deficiencies. The property remains in violation of the code. We served condemnation notice by certified mail and posting notice on the property and in the Ottumwa Courier. The staff would recommend condemning the structure.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to address this item, now's the time to come to the microphone. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Condemn the structures located at 308 West 6th Street, order prompt demolition, removal, and leveling of the lot, and direct all costs attendant to such actions, including administrative cost, to be assessed against the property and/or collected from the owner or owners thereof. Recommendation, approve the condemnation of the structures located at 308 West 6th Street.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second. Thank you. Any questions for Zach? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Is there any other business for the Board of Health? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Health.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Berg.
Yes.
Councilmember Dalby.
Yes.
Councilmember Myers.
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
5:33. Okay, now we'll convene the regular city council meeting, and we'll need to take the roll again.
Councilmember Dalby.
Here.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Stevens. Councilmember Myers.
Here.
Councilmember Berg.
Here.
Mayor Lazio.
Here.
Items on the consent agenda. Minutes from regular meeting number 17 on June 1st, 2021 as presented. Acknowledgement of May financial report and payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department. Recommend reappointment of Joe Rojas and Michael Carpenter to the Library Board of Trustees, term to expire 7/1/2027, and reappointment of Keith Cavanis to the Ottumwa Waterworks Board of Trustees, term to expire 7/22/2027. Civil Service Commission eligibility list for June 10th, 2021, Finance Grants Administrator, Accounts Receivable Accountant, entrance. Approve the appointment of Stephanie Dudman to the full-time position of Grants Administrator, Accounts Receivable Accountant in the Finance Department effective June 28th, 2021. Authorizing the mayor to sign a lease agreement with the Adult Softball League for use of facilities effective June 15th, 2021 through December 31st, 2022. Approving the updated employee life insurance policy and personnel policies and procedures manual. Approving the utilization of Barada Associates for employee background checks and motor vehicle reports. Approving payment to Interstate Power Systems for a repair to the 2003 American LaFrance pumper fire truck for the sum of $6,674.10. Approving the purchase of 2 right-angle gearbox lift replacements for the Orchard Pump Station from Gurney and Associates for a total price of $10,105. Resolution number 112, 2021, setting July 20th, 2021 as the date of a public hearing on the disposition of city-owned property located at 922 Russell Street. Cigarette permit applications for the following: Elliott Oil Company at Albia Road BP, 1340 Albia Road, North Court BP at 1301 North Court Street, Pennsylvania and Jefferson BP at 1147 North Jefferson, Richmond and Ferry BP at 720 Richmond Avenue, West 2nd BP at 1049 West 2nd Street, Casey's General Stores, number 7 at 1001 East Main, number 1678 at 346 Richmond Avenue, number 2208 at 1603 West 2nd, number 1886 at 504 West Mary Street, Fairway Stores, number 648 at 1325 Albia Road, Smokin' Hot LLC at 2604 North Court Suite A, Walgreens, number 1301 at 327 West 4th Street, Yesway Store, number 1012 at 2508 North Court, Yesway Store 1013 at 534 Church Street, Yesway Store, number 1014 at 502 West 2nd Street, and Yesway Store, number 1030 at 1317 East Mary Street, Dollar General Store 7179 at 721 North Quincy, Dollar General Store 2898 at 921 East Main Street, Hy-Vee Incorporated doing business as Hy-Vee number 2C Store at 2547 North Court, Hy-Vee Incorporated doing business as Hy-Vee number 2 at 2453 North Court, Hy-Vee Incorporated doing business as Hy-Vee Drugstore at 1140 North Jefferson Street, Hy-Vee Incorporated doing business as Hy-Vee number 1 at 1025 North Quincy, Hy-Vee Incorporated doing business as Hy-Vee number 1 Gas at 1027 North Quincy, Walmart Incorporated doing business as Walmart Store number 1285 at 1940 Venture Drive, Smokin' Joe's Tobacco and Liquor Outlet number 5 at 1115 Albia Road, Fine Liquor and Tobacco at 821 B Albia Road, Iowa Liquor and Tobacco at 1021 East Main Street, Mad Avenue Quick Shop at 405 South Madison Avenue, Murphy USA number 6945 at 1939 Venture Drive, beer and/or liquor applications for Applebee's at 1303 Vaughn Drive, Jade Palace at 1404 Sherwood, Happy Joe's Pizza at 315 Church Street, Mike's Pizza and Steakhouse at 2517 Northgate, Yesway Store number 1012 at 2508 North Court, Yesway Store number 1013 at 534 Church Street, and Yesway Store number 1030 at 1317 East Mary, Yesway Store number 1014 at 502 West 2nd, all applications pending final inspections.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And Mayor, I have a question on item 8. Do we vote first or you want me?
Why don't you go ahead with your question, Ms.
Okay,
Myers?
my question is on the firm that we've chosen to do background checks. I know I read that fee may be, it can't be set because we don't know how many they'll do, but I wondered what the base price is for background check, like just for one.
Let's see. Apologize, I didn't have that up in front of me. I think now if you're talking just there's a base fee and then there's different things you can add on depending what you're looking at. Was it in the packet here? Oh. Oh, that was not included in that. At least not on that part. Let me see if I can find that answer for you real quick.
We've both been out of town, administrators, so if you just want to get back to me on it, that's fine.
Okay. Yep, I can definitely provide that information.
Okay. Any other questions? Not? Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yeah, yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Item C on our agenda, I need approval for tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
At this time, I'll call on City Administrator Phil Rath to give us an administrative update and call on his guests.
Okay, all right. So, let's see, tonight I have Fred Zeisiger here, and he is going to provide the Main Street Ottumwa update. I'll call Fred up to the microphone. Thank you.
Good evening, Fred.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me tonight. It's our quarterly update. It's hard to believe that it's already the middle of June already. Weather outside certainly shows that, though. Just wanted to do a quick little PowerPoint. Won't take very long, but just I was here, I think, in April. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update of what we've done in April and May and what we plan to do here this week and in the coming weeks before I come back again in the fall. So we have the next slide there. We'll start out with Ladies Night Out, which was our first big event back downtown. Which one is it? This one? So we had a little smaller crowd than we have in the past, but we didn't have this last year, so it was great to have it again. We had 324 passports that we that were turned back into us. About a third of those passports were outside of the 52501 zip code, which I think is an awesome thing to say too. We did prolong the event. It's usually from 5 until 8, and we did started at 2 in the afternoon, and I think that worked out really well, and I think it might be something that we continue into the future. Everybody seemed to be very positive about that. We did have a lot of positive feedback from the businesses. We kind of promoted shopping this time, and all of the business that I talked to said that they sold more during this event than they had in any previous Ladies Night Out, which is amazing since we had a lot less ladies. But the streets look just as full as it did with 1,000 ladies, so we're very happy with that. Okay, so in May, we did a new initiative, a little fundraiser with a lot of the plantings that happened downtown and a lot of the new plantings that have happened. We thought it'd be great to have a plant sale, and hopefully in the future we can, if we need to divide up or separate any of the perennials that we now have downtown, this will give us an opportunity to sell some of those to the public. But we had a lot of people donate perennials to us, but we also partnered with Ostrander Flowers out of Eldon, close by Eldon, and ended up profiting about $2,000 off the event. So it was a great event and had a lot of people down early in the morning and throughout the day. So May 14th and 15th, we had our upstairs downtown tour again, which again, we didn't have this last year. So it was great to have that again this year. I thought it was one of the better tours that we actually had done. We also added a virtual tour this year. We tried to do that last year and couldn't get it done in time, so it was great to have that. We did have 10 people that participated that way, but we had 6 locations on the tour this year, and I think it gave a great showing of the potential for upper story housing. We also had some finished spaces. And then, of course, we had the previous Market on Main open. That's going to be the career campus downtown. I think people were real excited to see what was going on there. So, of course, we've been working hard with volunteers to clean out the First National Bank building. I wish I had a good after of the big picture there, but you can see upstairs the kitchen. Before and after. It is pretty well cleared out, thanks to a lot of hard work, and we are having a sale this coming Saturday, so there'll be more on that here in a second. But the building is in much better condition now than it was just a few months ago. I think it will at least allow people to, potential buyers to actually have a vision for it as compared to what it was before. Another new program we started this year with the many new light poles and downtown, but the Hometown Banners project has been very well received. We did sell 34 of those banners. I hope that you've all had a chance to look at those, but the banners display a photo of a service person, their name, branch, and data service. Those were purchased by family members for $150 a piece. Banners will remain up until Veterans Day this year, and then we will sell more in the spring, and hopefully be able to cover all of downtown next year with the banners that are up this year and the new ones that we hang up next spring too. So this set of banners will be up 2 seasons, and we plan to keep it that way. So each spring we'll be able to sell between 30 and 40 banners. But I think it's a great way to honor all of our veterans, for those that are still with us and those that have passed. But I don't think our service members get enough attention for what they give for us. Of course, we also do the flower baskets and the planters, and now we're also in charge of doing the beds. Sue works for Main Street now, and we did sell 17 sponsored sidewalk planters. So if you've noticed the sidewalk planters downtown, they're the big kind of black gray concrete planters. They do all have a sign in those who sponsored them. So grateful to the 17 businesses and individuals that did that. We do also do the 6 planters in Canteen Alley, and then we do the 35 hanging baskets along Market Street, Court Street, 3rd Street, and Main Street. And I think it certainly makes our downtown look very bright, colorful, and vibrant. So, and again, all done by volunteers. And then I mentioned Sue, who works with the downtown maintenance program under Main Street, has been working hard watering this week and getting everything planted in the ground as far as the flower beds go. So, oops. So later this week, we've got our big kind of summer kickoff event. Downtown is back downtown. And so our events kick off Thursday night with the car cruise in, which again, we haven't really had since the beginning of Streetscape. So it's been, like how I think 3 years ago that we had our last car cruise in. And then Friday night, we have our first bike night with music by Fast Henry. And thanks to RJ Performance and Hike Trucking as our sponsors for that event. But I think that'll be a great event. That's 6 to 9. The car cruise in is from 5:30 to 7:30. So if you have an old car, we are asking them to skip the loop for a little bit, and then we'll park at 5:30 so people can come down and see the cars from 5:30 to 7:30 and vote on their favorite car for a People's Choice Award. And then Friday night is 6 to 9 with the bikes and music by Fast Henry, and it'll be a real fun event. And we have a few. We'll have adult beverages there, and of course other beverages too. So hopefully everybody comes down. Also Friday night we're partnering with the Ottumwa Area Arts Council and doing our paint crawl, which is a paint by number in 4 local businesses. So you can pick up your canvases and your paints, and then you can travel from different locations to get your paints for your paint by number. And by the end of the evening, you should have a really cool painting. And if you don't get it all finished up, at least you'll have all your paints and everything to finish painting it over the weekend. Partnering with Morning Kiwanis and Ottumwa Habitat for Humanity and Community First Credit Union. Saturday morning is the Larry Jarvis Memorial Run on the levee. That'll start down by the skate park. It's a 10K, a 5K, and then I think there's several races for younger kids too. So that starts at 7, I believe, with the 10K. The 5K is at 8, and then from 9:30 to 10:30 are the kids races. So I think that's going to be a great event, and all the proceeds from that do go to Ottumwa Habitat for Humanity. So it's really great to partner with not only the Arts Council, but Habitat and these other groups to help bring back downtown. And then Saturday we have our Main Street garage sale, which I talked about a little bit earlier, from the contents that were salvageable out of the bank building. And that'll start at 8. We also have about 10 vendors, I think, that will be setting up there on Main Street in the 100 block of Market Street too. So lots going on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Hopefully people come down and enjoy it, all ages, and everybody's welcome. So excited about that. So this is kind of kicking off our summer projects, but we did get accepted into kind of a market analysis through Main Street, Iowa. There's obviously 54 Main Street communities in Iowa. This was an application process. They picked 6 communities. And we are lucky because this is the second time that we've done this Ready to Recruit. We did that back in 2016 and really came up with a lot of different things, goals, and a lot of those have been accomplished. The biggest one being filling our businesses is still a high priority. And I felt like our market analysis information really needed to be updated. They say you should do that every 5 to 6 years. And this program's also been updated. So I'm excited to see how it's different. But they do hire a professional DPN from Nashville. His name is Jay Schleschlon. And he actually came, he's been here a few times, but the last time he was here, he came to help us prepare our businesses for downtown streetscape. So he also does that for Main Street, Iowa. But this, we have our first meeting July 6th, and then the first group, first time Jay and Main Street Iowa will be here, will be on the 22nd of July. And then that process will go until October with lots of public surveys, business and public surveys. So if you see those out and about and online, please take the time to fill those out to help us fill the downtown storefronts and businesses with what we want and what we know will succeed there. Other events that are coming up, we got a fundraiser and then a new event as well. Last year we did our Evening in the Garden out at Connie Ferguson's house, who has a lovely garden, but it's just kind of a benefit for Main Street. It is limited to 50 people, so reach out to a Main Street board member to get a ticket. But it is a fundraiser. We'll be having a silent auction and a few fun games that can be played. And all those funds go to help fund Main Street and revitalization of downtown. On July 10th, a new event is the Downtown Garden Oasis Tour with a lot of the new plantings downtown and some secret spots that people don't normally get to see. I think this is going to be a really fun tour. We do hope to partner with the Ottumwa Area Arts Council again and hopefully have some of the artists, and if not the artists themselves, at least the stories about the new artwork that's being installed downtown. I don't know if you've seen that, but we've got 4 pieces on the 100 block by Daniel Miller from Iowa City. And then local artist here in town is doing the 300 block, Steve Huffman. He has 1 piece installed, and I think the second one's supposed to be installed yet this week, if not early next week. And then we have 2 sculptures that will go in on the 200 block later this month as well. So those will all be explained at that, the Garden Oasis Tour. So tickets for that are going to be $15, and that event's going to go from 9 to noon. I think that's my last slide. One other event we'll be doing is the golf outing, Queen of the Green, which is an event that we started last year too, and it's just a women's golf outing, and that'll be August 14th. So we don't really have a lot of information out on that yet, but keep your eyes open for that. So just open for questions from you guys if you have any.
Thank you very much, Fred. Good update. We appreciate hearing from you.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Before we get into the next topic on here with the general airport updates, I just wanted to remind the council and the public about the 2 upcoming work sessions. One is next Tuesday at 5:30, same time, and we're looking to have that at the Bridgeview Center. That is the one that's on boards, commissions, and we'll have it there so we can have more room. Hopefully, we'll have a good attendance there for that. That will be facilitated by City Attorney Christine Stone, and there'll be an opportunity for Q&A at the end of that. And in 2 weeks from tonight, also at 5:30, we have a work session, council work session, looking at the possibility or the request to reinstitute the local Civil Rights Commission. That will be facilitated by Monica Stone. That will be in this room at 5:30 on June 29th. So the Tuesday, June 29th. All right. And with that, then the last thing I have on the administrator's report tonight is just some general airport updates. Since earlier this year, when the city absorbed the fixed base operator responsibilities. We've been working. I want to thank staff for all of their hard work out at the airport, bringing on Duke Ball and everyone else working out there. We have the maintenance shop is up and running, so we're able to provide maintenance for aircraft. We have working to get a rental airplane. I think we've got a lead on one and working on the legal aspects of an agreement there and having some flight instruction. We have updating our partnerships with Indian Hills Community College for their flight program and what we can offer there for maintenance of the planes and everything with that. And thank the airport board as well. We're working on just revising how our agreements work for hangar leases, for fuel sales. And I think everything we're doing is really improving the aviation out there. And for the general public, we've got interesting opportunity to really take a look at what's going on at the airport on Saturday, June 26th. You got the flyer there. Okay, I'll grab that quick. There is an open house out at the airport Saturday, June 26th from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. You do not have to stay all day, but you are welcome to come and go as you please. Starting at 7 a.m., there is a fly-in breakfast. That is $5 a person, if anyone is interested in heading out to the airport. Starting at 8 a.m., going until 3:30, there are airplane rides. There's a charge for that as well. But if there's something that you wanted to get in an airplane and fly around the city, you're welcome to do that. From 8 to 1, there's a car and truck show that'll be out on site there. And we are pleased to announce we will have some vintage and World War II aircrafts. We have a B-25 coming in, a C-130, and some SNJ, one or two SNJ planes as well. So an opportunity to really take a look at some vintage airplanes if that piques your interest. And we'll be doing an official runway ribbon cutting at 11 a.m. And tours are available for the runway from 11 to 12:20. We are pleased to say we are approaching an opportunity to say we officially have a 6,000-foot landing strip there. So, but I think things are going very well at the airport, and they'll continue to improve on what we're able to offer.
Good.
So if you can make it, stop on out on the 26th.
Thank you, Phil.
Excuse me, Mayor, could I add something, Administrator? On the 26th, I was told yesterday that the Elks are putting on a pancake breakfast over at Jimmy Jones in conjunction with the balloons. So the breakfast out at the airport is for fly-in people. It's not really open to the general public, or at least that's what I was told. Not to conflict with the one that the Elks are putting.
Yeah. So okay. Well, yes, there is another event. The balloon races are going on, and that is actually, I think, about a 5-day event, 4 or 5-day event. And the events at the airport are not trying to conflict with what is going on with the Elks. In fact, it's ending early to make sure that there was talk early on about bringing a band out at the airport and those things, and we didn't want to conflict. We want to have a lot of things going on that weekend and an opportunity for people to come. We just heard the other things going on this week, so we want to get people back and coming to the city and definitely doing that. So go to breakfast, the pancake breakfast by the Elks, come out to the airport, whatever you want to do, and
I would just
make a
add
day
the
of it.
Airport board did meet with the Elks Club and the Hot Air Balloon Committee so that they are working hand in hand rather than competing. So it's good collaboration. So good. Okay, item E on our agenda. If there's anyone in the audience wants to address the council, I have a couple already. We'll call you up at the time that item is brought up. Fill out a slip and we'll be glad to give you some time. Let's go to item F then.
Presentation of certificates of appreciation for Make Ottumwa Shine initiative. Recommendation: present certificates of appreciation.
We'll recognize Zach?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So this year we were happy to bring back Make Ottumwa Shine. This is an annual cleanup event where volunteers select a location somewhere in the community and they commit to cleaning that area up. In this case, the event took place from May 16th to the 22nd. We did give folks an opportunity to sign up for an actual certificate of appreciation. We've done those in the past. No one specifically asked for a certificate this year. We don't have any of those to present, but I do want to just say quickly a thank you to the folks who volunteered. That includes Area 15 Regional Planning, Ottumwa Noon Lions, Holly Berg and Corey McDonald, the Bridge Church, Pleasant U and the Sodbusters 4-H Club, First Church of the Open Bible Youth Group, Bobby and Rachel from Girl Scout Troop number 00132, Chris Moore, Jessica Neely, Calvin Neely, the Albia Road Baptist Church, Heather Babcock and Jeffrey Dowding, Kim Jones and Brenda Curran, Brad Grief, Davis Street Christian Church Youth Groups, SDA Church, and Joe and Mandy Guard. We look forward to keeping this event going, and we also want to keep going with the momentum here. I saw that the community really did look better the week after that, and it's a good reminder that is the sort of thing we can do all year long. And we'll also be working here at City Hall to improve code enforcement and the tools that we have to encourage folks to take care of the property they have. And when we all kind of work together in those areas, we're going to be able to make this a community we can really be proud of. So thank you to the volunteers.
Thank you for taking leadership on that too, Zach. We appreciate that. Okay, and item G.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Forest Avenue flood wall project for the city of Ottumwa, Iowa.
We'll recognize Public Works Director Larry Seals.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This project will construct a reinforced concrete flood wall along the east side of Forest Avenue between the street and the drainage ditch. Auxiliary work includes pavement removal, excavation, dewatering, subdrain, backfill, and seeding. This work is required as a step to complete the levee accreditation process. Without this FEMA accreditation certification, the property owners would not be eligible for the flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program. The numerous levee projects currently under design or under contract are necessary to meet the new freeboard requirement, which change due to an increase in the calculated 100-year flood profile and re-rating of the flood release rates. Bids will be received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on June 23rd, 2021 at 2 p.m. and a bid report and bid award recommendation will be presented at the City Council on July 6, 2021 or a later date as determined by staff. The current estimate for this project is $296,100. What you're looking at is a map of Beacon. You can see the red line approximately 600 feet long along the east side of the ditch along the ball field. The wall actually goes at the toe of Forest Ave. What we run into is when we raise that tieback levee, technically the top of the levee is supposed to be 10 feet tall or 10 feet wide. We won't have that cross section, but we're currently at review with the Corps of Engineers. You can see approximately where it starts and where it ends. And again, there'll be about 2 feet of wall above the roadway, but in order to meet all the design calculations, the wall and the footing is quite a bit deeper. Very similar to the walls you see behind Ottumwa Waterworks. That too is an eye wall, or the one that's in front of Bridgeview between Bridgeview and the river is also of the same design as far as an eye wall. So that's the approximate location of what will be required to bring that up to where we can increase the levee height by about 2.5 feet at the lowest spot to meet the new requirement.
This is a public hearing. If there's anyone that wants to address this item in the audience, saying none, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Resolution number 123, 2021, approving the plan, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the Forest Avenue flood wall project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 123, 2021.
Move the
motion?
recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing and consideration of order assessing penalty for BW Gas and Convenience Retail doing business as Yesway Store Number 1030, second violation. Christine.
Christine, are you going to cover that for us?
Yes, I can, Your Honor. Thank you. So before the council this evening is a tobacco permit violation. This is a second violation because there was a previously imposed penalty back in April against this particular permit holder. In the council packet, beginning on page 92, you have sort of the document showing the violation. There is a copy of the citation that was issued against the employee of the retailer. There's a document that shows that they pled guilty to the violation, which was providing tobacco to someone under the age of 21. We included a copy of the hearing complaint and the notice of violation that was sent to the permit holder. The code requires that those be provided at least 10 days before the hearing on the matter, and they were mailed on May 24th, 2021. And we did not receive any response. So essentially the request this evening is that the council finds that the permit holder did violate the section 453A-22 of the Iowa Code, that this is a second violation within a 2-year period, and we would request that you impose the statutory penalty, which is either a $1,500 fine or that the retailer's permit be suspended for a period of 30 days. And that's at the retailer's option. So with that, I can answer any questions, but I would recommend that you approve the resolution and the order imposing the penalty.
Is there a motion?
We have to close the public hearing first. A motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to address this item? If not, we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing first.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 132, 2021, order assessing penalty second violation to BW Gas and Convenience Retail doing business as Yesway Store 1030 for the permit holder to either remit $1,500 to the city on or before July 16th, 2021, 30 days from the date of this order, or agree to a suspension of the retailer's permit for a period of 30 days for the second violation of Iowa Code Section 453A.2, subsection 1. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 132, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Any questions for Christine? Any discussion? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens? Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on proposed ordinance number 3182, 2021, amending Chapter 31.5, Solid Waste of the Code of Ordinances by repealing Section 31.5-35 in its entirety and enacting a substitute in lieu thereof.
Public hearing, so Zach, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. This ordinance adopts new solid waste fees for non-commercial establishment customers. Those are residential customers in single-family homes and certain other residential properties. These are the same fees that were included with the Bridge City sanitation proposal that was submitted and approved by the council in October. The fee on July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2022 would be $18.70 per unit per month. That's an increase of $1.50. The fee for July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2023 would be $19.08 per unit per month, which would increase 48 cents from the previous year and $1.98 from what it is currently. Because these fees were included in those RFP responses to the request for contractors, and they were approved at that time. And because of the date and the sort of requirements that we have by the contract with the contractor, we're suggesting that the council waive the readings because it has been previously considered.
This is also a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to address this item? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3182, 2021, amending the chapter 31.5 solid waste of the Code of Ordinances by repealing section 31.5-35 in its entirety and enacting a substitute in lieu thereof. Recommendation pass the first consideration of ordinance number 3182, 2021.
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions for Zach? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Waive the second and third considerations, pass and adopt ordinance number 3182, 2021.
Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Thank you, Zach.
Resolution number 116, 2021, approving the revised contract with Bridge City Sanitation for the collection of refuse, recyclables, bulky items, and yard waste for the city of Ottumwa effective July 4th, 2021 through June 28th, 2031. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 116, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Phil, you're going to take this?
Certainly. As Zach mentioned, last October, the city had worked and awarded the Bridge City Sanitation LLC, or BCS, with a 10-year contract for collection services within the city of Ottumwa, thereby directing staff to revise the prior contract to incorporate provisions that were identified previously in public hearing and other discussion. The original contract is set to expire July 3rd of this year. And the revised contract would be for 10 years and expire on June 28th of 2031. There is an opportunity built into there to extend for an additional 5-year term based on survey results and other criteria that would be utilized at that time. Staff reviewed the prior contract, revised the document to make it easier to read, and provide for issues the prior contract failed to meet. Following the draft, staff did meet with BCS and negotiate any terms or language that would not apply. And then the submitted contract has been tentatively agreed to by staff and Bridge City Sanitation. So I just want to, real quickly, I know there's been a lot of conversation out there publicly about the contract and the services and everything else. This is not to debate if we're going to use Bridge City Sanitation or not. This is to approve the contract that will hopefully make things a little bit easier between the contractor, the vendor, and the city. So that's what you're voting on tonight is the language of the contract. We did work with the attorney a little bit to review this, to make sure that we had some of the things in there. I know Bridge City worked with their attorney as well. When there are issues, and this is one of those services that tends to have issues for a variety of reasons, the first step is really to contact Bridge City Sanitation. And that was one of the things that we have in here is to have staff available to respond to those requests. If there are repeated things that aren't being resolved, then definitely we have staff to help assist with that. We'll be meeting more regularly with Bridge City Sanitation to talk through these things. When issues do there's provisions in here to have a log of issues, make sure that if there's repeat things, that we can address those on a more timely basis and hopefully be able to resolve any of those things from ongoing conflict. And I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Phil?
Yes, please. So Administrator Phil, and I don't know anything any more than any other councilman. So just if I've asked something as you guys have been working, but it was my understanding that for us, the city, to work with their company, that both sides were able to bring out some points and some understanding that should help enhance the contract. But did I also understand that, again, both sides, city and the company, will work to try to inform the public, the residents, a little bit stronger what our responsibilities are in inputting recycling and trash out?
Yes, that was some of the things that we had talked about was how we can make the process easier for both the resident, the vendor, and the city, making sure that people are doing things that garbage is bagged properly and put into the cans. Is when they take the can and they tip it into the truck, if things are loose, they could fly out, especially on extremely windy days. And nobody really wants to have that as a desired effect. So properly bagging the materials, making sure that the can lids are closed, those things, you don't have animals or what it might be getting into the garbage. Those are all things that will help with that. Bridge City did have some suggestions and brought some things as far as talk about bulky items or multiple bulky items. And we're going to be looking at ways that we can do that. The contract also has provisions to put in once a year an annual citywide cleanup. So we'll be working on how that's going to look. If that's a one or multiple sites in the city where people can drop things off, if it's curbside, those are things that we have to get the specifics on. But we will have at least an annual cleanup, which will help with some of the bulky item waste as well.
I would share with the council that I think Zach did a great job of bringing up many of the items, excuse me, that had been brought up at our public meeting, and both sides, I think, were serious and earnest in working through and coming up with good solutions. So I feel like we have a good start to a new year with the sanitation program. Any other questions or comments? Okay, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
No.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevens? Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Okay.
Resolution number 117, 2021, approving the final plat of Keipel's second subdivision in the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Iowa. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 117, 2021.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant in this case is requesting approval of a 14.43 acre, 4-lot contiguous area that would be consolidated and subdivided into 4 new lots situated between Northport Road to the west and Oak Meadow Drive to the east. The 2 west lots would provide separate lots for Tractor Supply and McGregor's Furniture. The applicant seeks to divide those lots to clarify property taxes and improve his business as a commercial property owner. The center lot contains a high-pressure natural gas main contained within a 30-foot easement. The applicant at this point seeks to keep that lot separate and protected. Access to the center lot would be available from 2 20-foot wide easements, one on each of the west lots. The east lot would be available for development, and the applicant is already working with a prospective buyer who I think is going to close this week, who's interested in building a church. The city engineer reviewed the plat. Staff recommended some updates to the plat, and those updates were made. And the final plat was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission on June 7, 2021, and was unanimously approved. The final plat is in conformance with the requirements of Chapter 33, which is subdivisions. And also the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Any questions for Zach? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Thank you, Zach.
Resolution number 126, 2021, approving an application and agreement for federal assistance, airports coronavirus response grants program. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 126, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Bill, this is yours.
Okay. All right. So this is one of those requests where we're looking at obtaining money from the federal government, and in order to do so, we need to have council support of that, and then that gives the city attorney the permission to sign off on that and make sure that we're going to be in compliance with any rules and regulations for the project. And I believe this is one where there is no match that we need to meet.
Any questions? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 127, 2021, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the 2020 RFP number 4 K Avenue Patch Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 127, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Larry, you have the floor.
K Avenue was in part funded with a RISE grant, which required the city of Ottumwa to maintain the street for at least 20 years from the roadway opening date of 9/4 of 2008. As part of the RISE grant program, the state DOT completes periodic monitoring and inspection throughout the 20-year period and makes recommendations for repairs. To address the noted deficiency, an RFP was developed and let. This project consisted of removal and replacement of approximately 230 square yards of 9-inch PCC pavement and 6 inches of compacted roadstone. Additional work included intake inserts and joint sealing as needed. Another item mentioned by the state is the desire or goal to continue to actively market the areas for development in the original grant application. Change order 1 increases the contract amount by $1,425 for additional intake adjustments, brings the total contract amount to $30,035.50. The contractor has completed the above reference work according to the request for proposal, and this will authorize approval of change order 1 and release all retainage in the final payment.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 128, 2021, approving change order number 1 and accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the Ottumwa Street Reconstruction Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 128, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead, Larry.
This project consisted of 430 feet of full depth, full width PCC reconstruction, including the water main replacement and relocation. The project included the installation of 4 intakes and separate storm line that will connect to the Phase 4 sewer separation project. This section of Ottumwa Street is the primary access to the Washington apartment complex. Upon further review, Ottumwa Water Works requested that we add by change order an additional 578 linear feet of water main extending the main to North Wapello Street. This change increased the contract amount by $40,957.20. The increases Ottumwa Water Works responsibility from the bid amount of $55,573 to $96,530.20. The developer for Washington Apartments, TWG Development, has contributed $45,000 for reconstruction. Ottumwa Water Works will reimburse the city for the cost of the water main installation. Change order 1 increases the contract sum by $35,141.82 for the added water main boring for additional water main and quantity adjustments. New contract sum is $284,551.82.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Resolution number 129, 2021, removing a special assessment in the amount of $320 plus accumulated interest and administrative costs of $87 that was applied to 1378 Bluegrass Road on resolution number 284, 2018. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 129, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Thank you. Zach, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. It's currently tax sale season, which means we've been getting a lot of calls from property owners who are anxious to try to remove special assessments. Each of those cases we do evaluate, and in this case there was cause to remove the assessment. In the summer of 2018, the city contractor mowed tall grass and cut tall weeds at 1378 Bluegrass. The city issued a municipal infraction for tall grass and incorrect outdoor storage. And in a settlement agreement for the municipal infraction case, the city attorney entered an application to dismiss the citation at the property owner's cost, and that application stated the property owner had mowed the grass, and the property owner is leaning on that to contest the claim that the city's contractor had mowed the grass, and is requesting that we dismiss the assessment. It did specifically mention that the application dismissed did specifically mention that the owner had mowed the grass, made no mention of the city mowing the grass, and made no agreement for recuperation of the city's costs, and the citation was dismissed by order of the judge. The applicant did not pay the original mowing fees, and those fees were still assessed on resolution number 284-2018. It's also accumulated $82 in interest and $5 in administrative costs for a total of $407. If the assessment stands and is not paid by June 22nd, the property will go to tax sale. Because of the language in the application to dismiss, and because the property owner's insistence that former staff members had made assurances that the assessment be removed, the staff does recommend removing the assessment.
Any questions for Zach? Appreciate your work on this, Zach. I know it's been a long, drawn-out process. Ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Resolution number 130, 2021, approving an application and agreement for federal assistance AIP grant for Rehabilitate Runway 422 and Rehabilitate Taxiway B project. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 130, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Phil, you're going to take this?
Yeah, so this is the second of the two opportunities here. This one is for much more and get some projects done. Earlier this year, we talked about an opportunity for some of this federal money that was being distributed, and this is will help with the rehabilitation of runway 422 and rehabilitation of taxiway B. The projects have been part of our capital improvement planning out at the airport, and with these funds, we're able to get up to $474,000 of those projects completed. And so the recommendation was to pass this. This is, again, grant money that is being offered. It's not having to be repaid back. It's part of the airport improvement program. And with city council approval, we will be able to get those projects done and the funding for them paid for.
Any questions for Phil? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Resolution number 131, 2021, approving a dockless shared motorized scooter operating and license agreement with Bird Rides Incorporated and authorizing the mayor to sign and execute said agreement. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 131, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented, Your Honor.
Second.
Go ahead, Zach.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Bird Rides Incorporated seeks to operate an app-based dockless e-scooter platform in Ottumwa. The council had previously given the staff authorization to negotiate an agreement with Bird, and with input from the city's attorneys and city staff, the attached agreement was prepared. It does protect the city's interests and safety and security of citizens and property by setting enforceable expectations about the operation and about parking. It also includes strong language about liability. This agreement would become effective after the final passage and publication of an ordinance that would set regulations for operating e-scooters within the city, and the agreement would be valid for 1 year, but could be extended by mutual agreement. It was a lot of negotiation back and forth over this document. The version of the agreement that our attorneys initially turned in, and it's pretty close to what we ended up with, was significantly more stringent for Bird than any other agreement that they've seen in the communities they're working with in Iowa. And we were really intent on leaning on and standing with the expectations that we had for them, and those did make it into the final agreement. But it was a lot of back and forth, and I think it is really a strong agreement. And I really do think that it will set some better expectations even than some of the other communities in the area have. So.
Any questions for Zach?
Just one quick question, point of clarification. I thought that we had made this clear enough in the last meeting, but evidently the citizens didn't get it quite clear enough. So just so we're certain on this, there are no taxpayer dollars going to this project, correct?
None at all. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Mayor, I have a question also.
Yes, Mr. Myers?
Zach, I serve on the Park Advisory Board, and I know they approved the idea.
Yes.
And so that's a big part of it. But I had some questions. I mean, I know that Fort Dodge is implementing this, and that I thought perhaps we could learn from how it works for them. But my questions, as our attorneys pointed out, some of the restrictions that we'll be talking about apparently in another section. It concerns me a little bit that where it says you cannot ride more than 2 abreast on the trails. You cannot, so the 4 or 5 items, but it doesn't say who's going to enforce that or what that penalty would be that I recall reading. So was
right.
that?
And I think that's because the actual enforcement part of the chapter, that's in the same chapter as all the other bicycle ordinance items. And so the actual enforcement would be a different part of that chapter, but it would be enforced the same way as the bicycle ordinance, which is if the police department issues citations.
Okay, but you raised another interesting point. I hope that we would also look at, if we were going to say scooters could be on the trail, can motorized bicycles be on the trail?
Let me take, that's in the ordinance part that's later. Let
Okay,
me grab that
all
and
right.
take a look.
Well, I just thought there were several components that if they were clarified, it would make the decision a lot easier for me anyway.
Well, and I think part of it too is Zach mentioned this will be a 1-year agreement and, renewable by other subsequent years as needed. So if there are things that are found to not be effective, could be revised before allowing for the continuation, renegotiated, or what it might be.
To specifically answer the question, it doesn't look like we put anything related to electric bicycles specifically into the ordinance at this time. That is something that we could
Thanks.
revisit.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, just a quick question for Attorney Stoner, Zach. Knowing we've seen implementation in a few other communities since you guys started the discussion with Bird, has there been anything arise that you think then that you didn't think of that's now been found in any other communities in Iowa that would be of concern?
I've been trying to keep an eye out on the news. It's been tough because it has been a pretty short amount of time. Oskaloosa, I think, maybe went live last week, but it's hard to get a read on that. I think that we really did set good expectations in the agreement. We're going to be working diligently to see that they're enforced. And I think that, leaning on that it is a trial 1-year agreement, I do feel pretty confident in this agreement, but I don't have good comparables to rely on for that.
No crystal ball yet.
No, not yet.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'll just say real quick too that the agreement here does reference back to the city, making sure that they're in compliance with all statutes, ordinances, regulations. And so if there are things that come up as we go, that the council would be able to look at our ordinance, including, excluding different things that would be needed, and they would still have to maintain within that. So if we do see some issues coming up from this, we'd be able to make changes potentially within the code and have it referenced back against the agreement.
Okay, thank you. Ready to vote, council? Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
No.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you, Jack.
Resolution number 133, 2021, resolution of support for Hugeritz Construction's application for Iowa Economic Development Workforce Housing Tax Credits. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 133, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Holly. Go ahead, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. Hubert Construction is pursuing workforce housing tax credits as part of an incentive and financing package for a 108-unit housing development. The selected site includes 10 acres already zoned for R4 between Bonita and Rochester in North Ottumwa. The site would have access from Bonita, but as you saw in the site plan that was submitted, it would take a really long driveway back to the back 5 acres in the site plan that's being evaluated now for the actual buildings. The workforce tax credit program is not an income qualified program. Instead, projects qualify based on establishing the housing needs of the community for middle income workers and establishing that there's a barrier that is posed by housing to economic development and job growth. This resolution states that we do have challenges with housing and that it's a barrier to local businesses. It also states that we would support new housing that gives businesses the flexibility to grow and gives our economic development partners the resources necessary to bring new industry and business to Ottumwa. The resolution would not commit the city to an additional project incentive at this time. However, the workforce development tax credit program does require some kind of match of $1,000 per unit. The idea that we're working on right now is that there would be some sort of TIF rebate for this development, and working on that, we would have a rebate value of at least $108,000 to meet that match expectation. And that would be, of course, negotiated and decided in the form of that match if the tax credits are awarded. It also does not provide site plan approval for the concept as it is submitted now. Site plan approval would still be subject to Plan and Zoning Commission review, and also review by the engineer, building permit evaluations, all those things. What was submitted here is a preview of the design they're working on right now. That's still open to be changed, and you'd still have more opportunities for input in that. I also included a link with some detailed information about the Workforce Housing Tax Credit Program in the packet. And I spoke to Ryan Hugrick, the developer, just before the meeting today, and I just wanted to discuss some things that I wanted to ask him what things would he want you to know evaluating this application. We talked a little bit about his qualifications. He's not been in the business of building housing for very long, but he has been in the business of building hotels. His firm's built 150 plus hotels. They built 7 hotels last year. And he also wanted to emphasize that he sees this as a phase 1 project in Ottumwa, and he sees room to, in different locations throughout the community with all different types of housing, from single family, duplex, and fourplexes, to build up to 4 times as many units as this in various locations around the community, because he's already, his market analysis folks have seen the demand there, and they understand that we have the room to support a lot more housing units in this community. I think that's all I have. The staff recommendation is to adopt the resolution.
Any questions for Zach?
Yes, Zach, I was just gonna, I know you mentioned it, but reiterate that housing tax credits are not income-based, correct? So I know a lot of times when people hear tax credits, they think it's, bring particular types of housing in, but this is not that. So I know you said that, but I thought we should clarify and make that heard again.
Yep, I think that's definitely a very clear thing to state here, that it targets middle income housing by providing sort of the expectation that it'll cost up to $200,000 per unit for construction. That probably doesn't leave room for marble bathrooms and things like that, but it is a good quality housing unit program, and then it doesn't require any sort of income evaluation or anything like that for the tenants.
And to be clear, this is really a support of the application, but you would bring back a development agreement or any final plans to the council.
Right. Any actual incentives, anything that would be spending city money or committing future tax revenue through a TIF agreement, any of those things would have to be evaluated in a separate case. This is just providing a resolution so that the people evaluating the tax credit application can see demonstrated community support for workforce housing and a demonstrated awareness and need for workforce housing in the community.
Any other questions for Zach?
Zach, I just got a quick question. Where this is planning to be built, and I know we're early in the process of that, have the neighbors and everybody in the neighborhood been well advised of what's being proposed here?
We haven't sent out any formal notices yet. Those would be sent out at other times. In this case, there wouldn't be any sort of rezoning hearings because there was already a rezoning on this property. I do know that neighbors are already aware of it. We've gotten I haven't directly gotten very many calls, but I've gotten contact from people who, hey, I've heard from the neighbor this. The developer's gotten questions from neighbors. He called me one morning and said, hey, I've heard there's mines around here. Do you know if there's any truth about this mines thing? And I got him a copy of the mine map, and his engineer was able to use that to influence the site design as well. So it's something that folks are aware of. I imagine that this hearing is going to help with that too, and all the different things down the line.
Another quick question, and this might be a tougher one. I'm a fan of workforce housing. I know we got a huge workforce in Ottumwa and a need for it. But I'm a much bigger fan of single-family homes than I am development housing buildings. And I think a lot of people in the neighborhood, as time goes on, will feel the same way. We've approved quite a few housing projects and developments. How does this compare, 108, room building, housing apartments compared to an equal amount of single-family dwellings as far as tax revenue? Is the city losing out on, tax revenue? Because I know that's always a concern when we approve, housing projects and stuff to that nature. We always usually give them an abatement or, and that doesn't seem to keep our community moving forward when we keep giving away our revenue. So how does that compare? Would you say an opinion is fine? I don't need any exact numbers.
Yeah, it'd be really tough to evaluate too with the changes the legislature's made to how they tax all residential property the same as opposed to different classifications. I would say that change was meant to make the multifamilies probably pay a little bit more property tax. That might balance that out a little bit more. It's really tough. We haven't had a lot of success with something where we'd be building 108 units at once in single family. Single family would also take up a lot more land. And I think we need 108 units in different subdivisions of single family housing, and that's something we're going to work on. It's hard to make a comparison. I think that the other thing to consider with that too is that these 108 individuals, this is probably transitionary, live in this, save up, work, and then buy a home. And so we would sort of see this as a pipeline to getting those home buyers prepared. But these people probably wouldn't be in a position to right away buy a house if we didn't have this kind of housing. So I think all the systems interacting, it's complex to say, but I would say obviously we'd probably be better off if we could skip right to building the single family homes. But I think that in a long-term approach, this is probably going to be beneficial.
Yeah, and it's a tough choice, and I appreciate the answer, and I share your opinion. Like I said, I am not opposed to workforce housing. I think if the goal is to eventually have folks to be able to afford their own homes, I'd like to see the homes being built and then being offered to help them afford their own single homes. That's just my personal feeling. Like I said, I'm not opposed to workforce housing, but I think there comes a time when, if our workers are that valuable to our company, then we should take the steps to make sure that they have their own dwelling. And it's good for the city too. Like you said, tax revenue would probably be a little more if we built 108 new single family homes, not big ones, just, something that occupies their own property and that type of thing. So,
Yeah,
and I understand the transitional part. Deere has a lot of those transitional employees too, but I think a lot of these homes will also be occupied for those that plan on staying here a while too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any
and
other
I have
questions?
a couple questions. Zach, Holly understands this tax credit stuff and everything better than I do, but and I also understood some of the things Matt had said where back in the day, we were getting concerned about low rent housing, and then the term workforce housing came out, and that seemed more palatable. But right away, when I read this and then with your description, middle income struck me as middle income. But based on what Holly, if I'm understanding some of her questioning, so that's not necessarily the individual that would get the housing that would be in a middle income category, or is it?
So there are different types of tax credit schemes. And when you look at something where they call it LIHTC, which is low income, affordable housing, those are developments where you have to prove that you don't earn over a certain amount in order to get a unit there. Those are also, there's other schemes where you have to qualify for Section 8 to get a unit there. This is not one of those types of programs. There's no income check that's involved in whether or not you can live in these units. And so in that way, it's not an income qualified. We also couldn't income qualify it the other way by expecting only, higher earning income folks to live there. It's going to be anybody who can afford the rent is going to be able to live there.
Okay. And then I also like the fact that, as you said, this will be going further to planning and zoning and some other clarifications. But I wondered if I could ask Chief Barrington, And I'm not trying to look for problems, but I'm curious with this number of housing unit, Emerald Hills, which I think is actually in the county, but it's a multiple. So, Chief, do we have problems with Stellar Avenue becoming kind of like a drag strip? Are you called out to that direction anymore? Because what I'm getting at is out of Bonita or off of Bonita, then it's going to be a clear shot down Clearview. So maybe that's one of the things they'll consider in the future for that development too. Will there be other ways in or out or whatever?
The council might be answer your approach to that.
You're loud enough, you can just speak up.
Yes, we've had calls out to Stellar Avenue for excessive speed and speed complaints. We provide extra radar out there. I understood if this became an issue out on Bonita, we'd be doing the same thing as you. As a council, I told we've instituted some new programs when it comes to extra control, extra radar. And at this point, I think it's making us more effective.
Okay.
So I would just offer that if those issues came up like anywhere in the city, we would provide that extra radar, extra control service.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, ready to vote? Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
No.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thank you, Zach.
Ordinance number 3183, 2021, amending chapters 9 and 26 of the Code of Ordinances, Municipal Code of the City of Ottumwa, Iowa, to create regulations for the safe operation of e-scooters in Ottumwa. Recommendation passed the first consideration of ordinance number 3183, 2021.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead, Zach.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the second part of the conversation around Bird and the e-scooters. This is the ordinance that would set the regulations around the safe use of the e-scooters. We also believe that whether or not we actually engaged in agreement with Bird, which we're going to be doing, we thought this would still be an important thing to do because e-scooters are just a growing phenomenon. Bird, in addition to offering the app-based service, is now offering for sale e-scooters for private owners who just want to use them and own them. And I would expect we'll continue to see more of those sorts of things over time, and having the expectations for safe operation is going to be something that's beneficial to us. This ordinance amends chapters 9 and 26 of the municipal code to create regulations for safe operation. It includes anyone operating an e-scooter would have to obey all traffic rules. You can have no more than one rider on an e-scooter that's designed for one rider. No one should operate carrying a package or an article that prevents them from using the handlebars. Persons should not operate more than 2 abreast on roadways. Persons should not, or people should ride in a prudent and careful manner. And any person operating on a sidewalk would have to yield to any pedestrian and give audible notice when passing. And all e-scooters would have to have a front lamp and red tail light after sunset. And finally, electronic scooters would be able to operate on the trails with only a maximum speed of 10 miles an hour. And that was a number that was discussed and agreed with the Parks Board.
Any questions for Zach? And you've worked with Christine on this too.
Yes.
Hearing no questions, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Berg?
Yes.
Thanks, Zach.
Ordinance number 3184, 2021, amending chapter 31 and a half of the City Code of the City of Ottumwa, Iowa, to allow privately owned or leased trash dumpsters or receptacles in city parking lots to add a new section 31 and a half-45. Recommendation passed the first consideration of ordinance number 3184, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Larry, you have the floor.
There is a desire to improve the overall appearance of the downtown business area and improve the traffic flows by developing a process to allow privately owned and leased dumpsters to be placed on public owned property. parking lots. Currently, there are dumpsters placed behind or adjacent to businesses that are unsightly and create obstacles in both parking areas and travel lanes. And so we'd work with local business owners to permit areas in several of the multiple businesses in a centralized area. This is the same concept we used in both the Canteen Alley and Jefferson Street parking lot. By authorizing the permitting of public locations, including required minimum screening requirements, we would address both issues simultaneously. We've put together a few aerial photos of different locations around town, different methods we use. This one is, of course, at Bridge View. That kind of gives you a concept of the appearance. This is the one that was in the Jefferson Street parking lot when we did the rehab there. That's a really aesthetically pleasing one, a little bit different in expense. This is one that was just recently put in behind the new business on Main Street. And that's one of the things we'd have to come up with, what is reasonable because of the expense differences. You're looking at multi-thousand to a few thousand. That's something that we'd want to work on before we determined finally what was going to require, depending on the lot and location. And again, this is another one that's located at River Hills. It's, of course, for several businesses. That's one of the things that we want to encourage in anything that we end up permitting in our public parking lots, just to reduce the number of spaces utilized and of course, kind of a centralized location for distance control from each businesses. That'll be something that we'll have to actually work on. This is one, of course, that's out at Arby's. Again, it's a fairly nice one. One of the things that we do have is in site plan review. They do have the ability to include that in the approval process. We probably want to look at some of their processes of how they come up with what is the model for minimum screening. That hasn't been determined yet, but we'll bring that back at a later date. We've got some time to work on this as we go through the readings. The permitting process and fee structure would be developed and included in a resolution if the ordinance is adopted. The current model that we use for both the ordinance and our permitting and forms is from Cedar Falls, which includes a $300 annual fee. You bring up that Excel spreadsheet. This was included in your packet. I don't know if you have any specific questions, but the cities that responded, this is the information we gathered. And this is just a real simple form. We just basically used the format just to give you an indication of how simple it would be. Cedar Falls uses this. I think we would adopt something very similar. If you have any specific questions, we could cover that, but we wanted to get the ordinance placed. We've been approached by a couple business owners, and I agree with them. We need to get some of the dumpsters out of the alleys and then get them enclosed in a central location.
I had it. I know Fred from Main Street presented a few months ago this year's list of the SMID priorities for funding, and doing these dumpster enclosures were one of the things that were identified in use of SMID funds for this year. So you might want to talk to them because they were working on some development of cost estimates and things to do just this that he presented to us. Maybe it was 6 months ago. Time flies. But yeah, so he presented that, and this is one of the things they were discussing doing with some of the SMID funds.
We'll reach out to him and see what he's put together, because we want to kind of develop what is the minimum. That's a big gap. I mean, we've looked at some that's got full foundations, poured colored concrete with powder coated gates. They're in the multi-$1,000. I'm sure that most of these people are not want to invest quite that much. But we'll reach out and kind of figure out, do we want like a little design committee where we can get the right input?
Excellent. I know they were looking at some designs, and they meet next month, so maybe we can coordinate.
That'll be good timing as we go through this approval process.
Any other comments or questions for Larry?
Yeah, Larry, as we look through the ordinance going forward. One of the things that I've noticed about some of these dumpster locations across town is there seems to be trails of staining on the concrete, whether the businesses aren't really taking care of making sure there's no leaking from the dumpsters, whatever. Is that something that's going to be addressed in this ordinance so all of our community parking lots don't have trails running all the way to the dumpsters?
We could look at that, how we tie that in. I don't know if it's the dumpsters just leaking and they're running from the dumpsters or from the trucks on the fluids. That's something we can have discussions on and see if we can.
Yeah, it would be a terrible shame that we've spent all this money on the downtown parking lot specifically, and then they end up looking like junk because there's garbage stains all across the parking lot.
Yeah, agreed. And that's one of the things we're looking at. We know we have some that's outside grease dumpsters that we've had just that problem with. That's why we was trying to get them enclosed and in a central location, is to try to minimize that. We'll take a look at that and see how we can fortify that actual issue.
Any other comments? Okay, ready to vote? Take a roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Ordinance number 3185, 2021, amending section 32-73 of the City Code of the City of Ottumwa, Iowa, for the purpose of addressing adjacent property owner liability for sidewalks. Recommendation passed the first consideration of ordinance number 3185, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Go ahead, Larry.
Our current ordinance needs updated to align with the recent Iowa Supreme Court opinion outlining responsibilities for maintenance of private sidewalks located in public right-of-ways that are defective. This ordinance also establishes a timeline for repairs to occur, and if necessary, the authorization to assess itemized repair costs to the abutting property owner as taxes for payment.
Any questions for Larry? Hearing none, take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Item J in our agenda is that we always give citizens a chance to comment on any city business. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to comment about something not on the agenda? Okay, then let's move to item K. And we do have a number of people that want to address the, perhaps I should start and give some background, and then we'll call you up individually to comment. Recently, I was contacted by a local parent to request a issuance of a proclamation for National Pride Month. In the spirit of diversity, equity, and inclusion and the One Ottumwa movement, it would seem appropriate to issue this proclamation. I could do a mayoral proclamation, or yet I would rather do a citywide proclamation approved by the council. The young people and people of all walks of life deserve to be welcomed and recognized for their contribution to our community. So unless you tell me otherwise, I would like to have some discussion with you about issuing a proclamation on behalf of the LGBTQ plus movement and welcome them to Ottumwa. We tell people all the time that we encourage all people to participate and to be productive citizens in our community and in our state. And I think we also, as we did the pledge tonight, we also say that justice for all. So I feel very reasonable that I was approached and wanted to get some input from council about this. And we do have 3 people who've asked to speak. So if Libby would come up and she can take the microphone, and I'll give you a few minutes to make your comments, Libby.
So my name is Lily Strebe, and last week I took a trip with my family to Chicago. There, every
Turn that
building-
microphone down
Oh,
so we
sorry.
can, yeah, there you, thank you.
All right. There, every building that had a flagpole in front of it was also flying a pride flag. For the first time outside of Pride Parade specifically, I saw a city that fully embraced all of their community, their whole community. Something so small made me feel so safe and welcome in a city I had never even been to before. We're not asking for every building in Ottumwa to be lined with rainbows like Chicago, but we are asking for at least one. A small symbol of respect, a symbol that would bring a feeling of safety and welcome to many members of our community, including myself. We are asking to be acknowledged and accepted by our hometown. And quite frankly, it's slightly disappointing that this has to be up for debate. So, thank you, everyone. And that's all.
Thank you, Levy. Colby Strebe?
Hello, my name is Colby Strebe, and I am an Ottumwa resident. I am the proud mother of an LGBT child, Lily, who just spoke. I am also a member of the Ottumwa Pride Board of Directors, and I am a youth counselor at Ottumwa High School and serve as the Gay Straight Alliance sponsor at OHS. I started that group 4 years ago after several students had come to me. When I first started, I had 5 students in my class. I now have over 40. Since starting that 4 years ago, Evans Middle School has also started a Gay Straight Alliance, also known as a GSA. And Ottumwa School District has adopted district-wide policies for LGBT students. I believe that LGBT young people have been around in Ottumwa for many, many years. I do feel that they are becoming more accepted and willing to come out of their shell. I feel like they are supported in the school district, but I would love to see them supported in our city as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Kara Galloway?
Good evening. I am Kara Galloway. I am a member of this community. I also sit on the Ottumwa Pride Board, and I come today too because I'm a little disappointed in the city, and I'm disappointed that this proclamation was put at the end of today's meeting. I have been involved with many proclamations that you have signed, and I've never seen one at the end of this meeting, or at the end of meetings. I went through the minutes up until all the way back to July 31st of 2020, and I think I didn't have my glasses on for all of them, but I may have missed one. But this was the first one that I could find that was put in, petitions and communications. If you look at April 20th, there was a consent in the consent agenda for Arbor Day, which was approved. That was not on the prior agenda in a lower section. In April, you also did a child abuse awareness proclamation. In May, you did a drug court month proclamation. And if we want to talk about a proclamation that may have caused a little bit more uprise, we can look back to July 31st of 2020 when you declared July 31st Chloe's Day regarding a child that died because of child abuse. So it makes me sad to see that this is not in the consent agenda for us to, for you to approve, but instead we're having a conversation about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, Council, I did include in your packet or your stations a proposal that I would like to get some feedback from you on, and I think this is an issue that is certainly much more, I'll just say, controversial for our community. It opens the door for lots of free speech on other groups besides gay pride, and so I want the council to weigh this and respond to it. And I think, again, that's the difference between a mayoral proclamation and a citywide proclamation. So are there any comments from any of the council or city administrator, city staff?
I guess I'll start. This should be a little bit of a moment of reflection for us as a community. We say that we're all for equal rights, but we tend to see in certain instances where our actions sometimes speak just a little bit differently than what our words say. So I'm fully supportive of the city of Ottumwa supporting LGBTQ Pride Month. I'm quite uncertain, however, why we're even debating the issue. It would be the same as saying, should we support Black Pride Month? Should we support Latino Heritage Month? It's something that we shouldn't be sitting here talking about. We should just be saying, yes, we're going to support it.
To piggyback off that, when the mayor asked, I said I didn't understand why we would need to have the discussion. It's an internationally recognized month, and therefore, unlike someone who could argue for some other recognition from another organization or another group that maybe doesn't have a positive message, I don't know of any of those that have internationally recognized month. So I didn't find it to be equated. And I just want to thank everyone for speaking tonight. And I'm definitely also in support of this as well.
And I'm in full support of it too. And I don't want to keep repeating everybody's thoughts, but I'm surprised it took us this long to recognize this. Like Councilman Rose said, we try to stay away from saying one thing out one side of our mouth and doing another. And I think this is a way to bring those things together and say we mean what we say. And we are an all-inclusive community. We have a lot of different groups and ethnicities and things of that nature. And we're one community. One Ottumwa pretty much says it all. I think it's time we start learning and living by it. Absolutely. It's good stuff.
Okay, and while I'm also in supportive, and I think Holly's point on the international, because otherwise, as Mark started naming some, I thought the mayor's point earlier is like, any group can come before us, and how is it that you can acknowledge everything? But I think Matt summed it up for me, or at least my point being, and I thought, and I think we're working very hard, at least in Ottumwa, on it being recognized as one Ottumwa. And hopefully in the future, all of us will see it as that.
Thank you. Bill, any comments? Is there anything from Christine?
What's that?
Oh.
No, I think council summed it up pretty well. And, as far as Ms. Galloway's comments there, it wasn't thrown on the end as an afterthought or anything to that effect. I think it was the way that it came in, and it was, I agree, it should have been a proclamation that was drafted and ready to issue or not. And that was some of the same concerns I had, was just having that, the communication at the end, either we do it or we don't do it. So it was not meant to slight anybody, but it was that there was not a proclamation there. We haven't, as far as I know, a city hasn't recognized other months or celebrations. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, we just hadn't previously. And so I think maybe that's where having that as that conversation to start that out was the thought. But I'd say, from what I heard, without the official action, it sounds like the mayoral proclamation could be city-wide proclamation there. If you need to have that on a meeting, for effect, maybe on the 22nd, we could add that in right at the beginning.
I'm happy to read this out loud, and if the council is in favor of it, they can take action because it's been on the agenda and we have had some comments about it. I think it's important that if it's a citywide approach, the council needs to stand up and say, this is what we want. So, whereas many of the residents, students, city employees, business owners within the city of Ottumwa contribute to the enrichment of our city and are part of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning community. Whereas June is designated International Gay Pride Month, honoring the history and achievements of LGBTQ people, and commemorates the 1969 Stonewall Uprising as a catalyst for the modern LGBTQ civil rights movement. Whereas the LGBTQ community has much to celebrate in terms of business and professional achievements, artistic expression, political involvement, community activities, and life-affirming family relationships, and is a vital part of our culture. Whereas the city of Ottumwa and the LGBTQ community continue to support and encourage diversity in the workplace and throughout the community. Whereas the positive images provide support and advocacy to the city's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, and intersex youth and young adults and educates the greater community. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Tom Lazio, Mayor of the city, on behalf of the entire City Council, am pleased to present this proclamation of the celebration activities honoring Pride Month, dated June 15th of 2021. So I would present that to the council if you want to take action or do something with it tonight, or if you want to defer to the next regular meeting.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept that as a proclamation.
I'll second.
Just as follow-up, can we, even though it was in the petition and communications, is that something we can act upon appropriately tonight, as it wasn't presented as an action item? I just want to make sure.
Christine, did you hear that?
Is she still on?
I did not. What was the question?
I think Councilwoman Berg is asking if we can officially take action on this item tonight.
Yes, since it wasn't listed as
Legally,
an action item.
I mean, is the agenda stated clearly enough for that?
Yeah, the proclamation is identified, so I'm comfortable with the council taking a vote if that's what it would like to do. Yes.
Thank you.
Just making sure.
Any other comments or discussion? Take a
Well,
roll.
I was just say, and as part of this, this fits into where we talked about the comprehensive plan and having the, the DEI perspective of that. This fits well within that, and going above, going beyond that, again, to the 29th, having that meeting, local civil rights commission, and looking at that as well. So I think this is definitely something that would be good for the city.
Can I just add, also, just to mentioning the comprehensive plan reminded me, we did include language in there about not just observing Pride Month, but also taking some time to work on local history during those months. And one thing that came across my email the other day, the city's a member of the National Preservation Commission Alliance, and they have shared a tool that the Library of Congress or somebody's working on that takes an inventory of local historic sites that were important to the gay community. And if there are people in Ottumwa Pride or other organizations that are aware of that type of history that have anything they can share, putting any Ottumwa landmarks or locations on that inventory is something that we could try to work on as a project this month.
Thank you, Zach. That's good information. Any other comments or questions? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Take the roll.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Two other items just for, again, communication. Remind people that we are going to sponsor a citywide vaccination clinic. We're working with Wapello County Public Health. We're working with JBS, the hospital, and the Bridgeview Center. And that will be held on July 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you've been following the vaccination, Wapello County is one of the lower counties in the state. I think today we were at 35% vaccinated. We'd like to get that up as high as we could. And JBS is going to graciously provide some incentive. So if you come or bring somebody to the vaccination clinic, you'll get a pork loin or something equivalent. So bring your friends and family and come. And then last, I wanted to recognize, I usually don't recognize individuals, but Nancy Cameron is a local citizen, been here for a number of years. And the pandemic really caused her some difficulty, and she took up water painting and watercolors, and she is having a show June 16th, tomorrow, from 5 to 7, and she's down on 222 East 2nd Street, and she'd love to visit with anybody who's interested in hearing her story about how she turned her struggle with being cooped up for a year and turned it into water painting, and has started her own business at age 70. So that's a great, great story.
Honorable Mayor, I have an answer to Councilman Meyer's question from earlier. The base package for the background checks starts at $49. And then depending on the job, we may want to add in academic verification, employment verification, licensure, and those are about $4 a piece if we, a position that required advanced education or licensing.
Thank you very much. Okay, any other business for the city that we ought to think about or talk about? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Dalby?
Yes.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Myers?
Yes.
Councilmember Burke?
Yes.
And I have 7:15.